Going to go for two here.
He's going for two.
If you don't make this, you lose. If you make it, you're in the position to win.
Caught him! One-handed catch as he goes up and gets it. That's just a heavy
Going to go for two here. For two here. Go for two here.
Caught him! One-handed catch as he goes up and gets it.
All right, welcome in. Yep, welcome in. We'll let the debate start while we actually start talking on here. But yeah, we're presented by Toboggan today, down on Richmond Street. Make sure you check them out. Also, make sure you're checking out Joe Cool's. This is the time that they need people to be ordering. They're going to get it to your house really fast, so make sure you check out their app, check out their website. But we need to talk about our bets a little bit before we get started here. Now, obviously, our Super Boost, we were pretty confident going in. We know very well that we got punched in the face by Coolbet, which is why we posted that thing of getting knocked out. They reposted it because, they know that they beat us. But the game that I was most confident on was the South Dakota State University versus North Dakota State. And I will tell you one thing, and I mean, I'm sure the streaming services are listening to this because everyone watches this, but we could not find a link for this thing.
We've never tried so hard to stream a football game in my life. FCS football was all I cared about on Saturday, and I couldn't find a link.
Yeah.
We probably spent an hour and a half going through Reddit forums. Like, I was messaging guys like I know down in the States, how do you get this game? Nothing.
Jeez.
Every streaming site possible. I think.
Did you do it? I think it was Shane that said in the past where he watched it on ESPN and watched the highlights that way. Did you do it that way this time or what?
We were watching it on Google as it refreshed.
Yeah, like the ticker.
It was ridiculous.
Like Tecmo Bowl.
Yeah, but anyway, it came out our side. South Dakota State wins. Huge, big victory. I also had Jake Paul with the knockout. So we'll get into that a little later.
That guy.
Yeah, we'll get into that one a little later before I get Chad all fired up over there. Now, let's talk about something that had people fired up was the comments from Trevor Lawrence on how football isn't necessarily his only love. Now, I don't have the direct quote in front of me, but everyone's read it by now. How do you guys feel about this?
He pretty much just came out to he doesn't want football to define his life.
Yeah.
That's a Colton's home version of it. He says he's more than just a football player. And the problem is that Urban Meyer doesn't leave the stadium. So everybody's trying to find a story to build up to the draft. But regardless, the Jaguars are taking him.
Yeah.
There's no question about it. His resume speaks for itself. The guy's a born winner. He's been the best player in the country since he was in grade 9 or grade 10 or whatever it was.
Right.
He's lived up to the hype. He's outworked everybody. It's not like he just had God-given talent and stopped trying.
Right.
So I think this is obviously they took a little blurb from a Sports Illustrated interview because he's the golden boy of football right now. They're trying to taint his name, but they have to get a story out saying maybe he won't be the first pick overall. And let's just be real. It's not going to change anything. He's going to come in. He's going to have a phenomenal career. I'm not going to sit there and say he's a Hall of Famer because I'm not going to do that to anybody. That's not fair. But his ceiling is so high. The people he's compared to, you don't think he knows that already?
Right.
He's been compared to Peyton Manning and Andrew Luck since he was in high school. Don't come out and tell me that he's not going to try when he gets to the pros.
Yeah. And similarly, and similarly, like what you talked about being compared to Andrew Luck. Well, Andrew Luck kind of went through the same thing, right? He came out with this golden boy, generational talent that only comes around once every decade. And they tried to make a story out of whatever they possibly could with him. This chip on Lawrence's shoulder. Why? I don't understand. It was kind of I think a pathetic reach of a question from SI, in my opinion, because why does a player like Lawrence need a chip on his shoulder? He's just good. He's somebody that's going to get better, who proves he gets better every single year. He doesn't need a chip on his shoulder by going number 1 in order to become that next level of player. He's already going to get there. We know that he's going to try his best. He's not going to Ryan Leaf it by any means, I don't think. He's never shown the look to be like that type of player. So I think it was a reach of a question, and then they ran with it by tweeting it. And the poor kid has to go and justify what he says 2 days later in a tweet again about what he meant by it. That's just ridiculous.
A string of tweets he had to do.
20,
just one
yeah.
tweet. It was a string of tweets to defend. Like, why the fuck does that guy have to defend anything he said or done?
That's right.
Right.
It's just that here we are in 2021 where you have to defend literally everything you say. Even when you say, I don't need you guys to think down on me for me to become a better player,
Yeah.
somehow he has to somehow justify that. Ridiculous.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, Chad said like it's not gonna impact whether the Jaguars take him or not. I mean, they from what I understand, they've already sent him a playbook. So
Yeah, and him doing the playbook. And did you see what the fans sent him? Although the wedding gifts they sent him,
Yeah.
no, but that's
they
crazy.
bought like every registry list on that he had. Like they tripled it. So then he went and donated like a ridiculous amount of money to charities around Jacksonville, and basically said, "I can't wait to be part of your community if that's the way Jacksonville goes." But we all know where they're going, right?
Yeah. Well, and I mean, eventually they're gonna move to London, England anyway. So maybe this guy can save the franchise and keep them there. But yeah, I mean, we'll see. Yeah, we'll pivot for a second because I want to talk about a guy that we never talk about on here, and mostly because he plays for the Washington Capitals. But such an underrated player. And Chad actually had to correct me when I was coming on because I thought he was fifth for active players, but since he's come into the league, Nicholas Backstrom, only 4 players that are active have more points than he does right now, and he just played his 1,000th game.
Yeah.
Is it?
I mean,
Can you guys think of like? Do you guys know who the 4 players are?
I do. There's only
Yeah.
4
Well,
guys that have come to your mind. But there's
Yeah.
only 4 guys. Like, I think everybody who watches hockey knows who those 4 guys are.
So we've got Thornton.
He
Marleau?
came
Marleau was in before. They
no,
were
but
in
it's,
before.
it's who's come in since
Oh,
the
okay.
same time.
Yeah.
Oh, since okay,
Crosby,
Crosby,
Ovechkin,
that's
Malkin,
yeah, Malkin, and
Pat Kane.
who else?
Pat Kane.
Oh, Kane. Yeah, that'd be a good one. Well, I mean,
Like
they
those
all
3 guys have been like Hart Trophy winners. He never has, and you would
Yeah.
never
Yeah.
put him in that conversation. Now, if he didn't play with Ovechkin, would his stats be as high, or would he be?
Well,
as a superstar? And that's the real question.
that also can be said because let's also remember like Ovechkin, a lot of his goals are scored off of like as we're mentioning right
Yeah.
now from him, right? And they're not always like the easiest of passes to get there either. Now, your first line setter should play like that, but does Ovechkin have as many goals if he didn't have him on his team? I don't know. That can be played both ways because the kids, they're both freaking talented. Washington's been spoiled with the riches of players like that for a while now.
Well, spoiled. I mean, they drafted well. Like,
Those are deep drafted players too, I believe. Like, well, not Ovechkin, but like some of their players they've had that over the last decade, they've been really, really deep rounded players. So
yeah, and they don't miss on free agents. So I mean, if I could give the Capitals like any kind of credit, they like the fact that they were able to get TJ Oshie and extend his career, and the guy's still a top notch player. Like it's unbelievable. But
having guys like Backstrom and Ovechkin, everybody knows you're always there.
yeah,
There's always that chance. So
yeah,
if I'm a free agent, and I'm not saying about the end of my career, but like I know my last few good years are on their downslope.
yeah,
I know I want to jump on that team before I start going downhill. I'm a casualty of war.
right.
Mhm.
Now,
yeah, one of the telling things was when Chara went there. That was for me was like when they were able to pry Chara away from Boston. Now he had an offer to go back, and I don't think it was as high. Maybe it was higher, or maybe it was lower than what he's offered in Washington. But there was a few other teams that offered him, and nobody thought that Chara would have ever left Boston. But he was pried away to go to Washington. So that was telling to me that the culture they have there is still strong to pry away a player like him. And he was excited to join a team like Washington. It wasn't just a payday for him; he wanted to play for that team.
right, and when it comes down to it, like, is Nicholas Backstrom the most underrated player in the league right now?
I don't know. I think that it kind of just always gone hand in hand. I mean, if you watch hockey, you know who Backstrom is. Like he's a first line center, like we said, right? So I don't know if I could say he's underrated. He's done his role and he's done it for a long time. I think he's just somebody who wasn't talked about as much, similar to like Gino. I think that Crosby's talked more about than Gino, and I think that Gino deserves to be talked about as much or enough more than Crosby at some points, right? So I think that's kind of where he's kind of fallen into. He's kind of in the second horse on a great team when he's got somebody like Ovechkin beside him.
Right. Chad, no.
Yeah.
I didn't know if you froze there for a second.
No, I just
yeah.
I wish I could have an answer for that, but like I don't watch enough hockey to sit here and dive into something like that.
Yeah,
I'm not going to
that's
sit here and just pull stats out of my ass and facts out of my ass. So
That's fair. All right. Well, this one kind of snuck up on me, and we're gonna stick with hockey. But um, would you guys have expected that Patrick Marleau was about to break the regular season games record? Uh, I know
What?
Chad and I talked a little bit on Friday night, and he's like, "Yeah, all the players for Minnesota are coming over to him. They're all giving him fist bumps." And Chad and I are thinking like, "Well, maybe he retired and like this is his last game in Minnesota and like whatever."
yeah,
But like, yeah, I mean, the fact that, in my opinion, the fact that something like this slid under the radar,
Mhm.
or maybe it just did to me or to the casual fan, uh, I think it's not really doing the service to a guy like Patrick Marleau. And is this a result of just having the Canadian division and like that's just where we're dialed into right now?
It's a really logical reasoning for it. Absolutely. I mean, like we're talking about the most games played. Like this is crazy. Like, and honestly,
Yeah.
how lucky are we on our generation, guys, to see players? Who was that guy in baseball that played like so many straight games? Was it Cal Ripken? That was yeah.
Yes.
To have somebody like that had so many
Just that
straight
who
guy,
games,
was
and then
that guy?
man, well, I'm sorry. I'm trying to remember. I don't watch a lot of baseball. That's your sport, right, guys? But like, players like Brett Favre, to watch the Iron Man streak that he had, right? And to see somebody like this, Patrick Marleau, playing the way that he is, this is crazy. I think I just got a quick thing that I had read earlier today that I read it to you guys, and I want to make sure that I say it right so I don't get called out for this. But like Martin St. Louis, I remember him coming into the league, and I view him as a fairly old guy, like now at this point, right? Even though he's only a couple years older than I am. But then you think about it. So Martin St. Louis made his NHL debut. He played 1,134 games, retired, had his number retired in Tampa, waited out the waiting period, and then was inducted into the Hall of Fame in the time since Patrick Marleau made his NHL debut till now. That's ridiculous. Like you just don't. That's an incredibly long career. His longevity has been awesome. I'm glad to see that he's still playing at a pretty decent level. It's fun, man. It's awesome. I love it.
Do you think it's because he's never been the guy?
In what sense do you mean by that?
Because when he was in San Jose forever, Joe Thornton was always the guy there. And then he went
Mhm.
and he went to Trinity, did his little stint in Toronto, like he was just there to be a mentor. And this isn't a shot at him. And that's probably how he got by for so long, and why we didn't realize it.
Right.
And that's what
Like
I'm trying
that's
to
how
say.
we fly
Like
under the
that's how
radar.
we stayed
Yeah.
under the radar. It's like there's always a superstar ahead of him that it just that's why we never thought of it that way. That's all I'm trying to say. Now it's not a shot at him.
No. Yeah, no, I know. I think I just think because he's in San Jose. That's the only reason that it's gone this long that we really haven't heard about it, or hasn't been a hyped up. And then the way that last year and this year so far has worked out, it's unfortunate that there's not the hype train that's there. But yeah, I think him being in San Jose leading up to the last year, having as many games as he's played. To me, I still think of Marleau as being like, Jumbo Joe was a big reason why San Jose was what they were, but so was Marleau and Team Canada too. Some of the teams that he was on for that as well, right? So he's a hell of a player, and I just think, yeah, it's unfortunate that he's down in San Jose, and that's why we don't hear of the hype train about it.
Right. You would still expect that. I think that you're both right. Whether it's he flies under the radar because he wasn't the guy on the team. I mean, he was definitely a guy, but if he was, yeah, like if we called him or if we called Nicholas Backstrom Patrick Marleau, that's not insulting to either one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that they're in similar categories, and that leads to what Chad's saying is you're like when you thought of the Sharks, you thought of Joe Thornton, even though Patrick Marleau might have been stirring the drink just as much. But yeah, I mean,
Then there's
I'm
Pavelski was there, and then who's the other?
Yeah.
Another kid after Pavelski too, right? And
They-
that's
Couture?
yeah, Couture has one, yeah. So
they were good, and I mean they were always in the playoffs. It seemed like the last couple years ago, but yeah, I mean we'll see. Another guy that was kind of flying under the radar this year, and he seems like he's burst on the scene. Is
Oh God.
Kalen's boy down there in Boston, Taylor Hall. I mean, is he the steal of the trade deadline at this point? I mean, it feels like it.
yep,
Yeah, well,
he's doing
Bite
everything
that-
that
bite
like me
that.
and Shane said could happen, and
Yeah.
you were trying to deny
Yeah.
it. We didn't say it was going to happen. We just said the upside is that high, and that's all it is, right?
Yeah.
Is he going to get a goal a game the whole way through? No. Let's call a spade a spade. But he's just adding a different element to how good that Boston team can be, and is the speed he's giving them, and that's the difference.
Yeah.
I read a stat the other day that Taylor Hall has had the most breakaways over the last 4 years of anybody in the NHL, and he's not scored on a single one of them. So, I mean, I'm not gonna bite the low hanging fruit on Taylor Hall right now. No, right now over the last couple of games, great, fantastic. Let's see how he does over the longevity of the rest of his career here in Boston. And it sounds like he wants to return, so let's see what happens to the rest of his career. But I don't think this little drop in the pond is anything that I'm gonna get excited about yet.
I'm gonna compare. Please don't take this completely out of context. The Randy Moss situation in Oakland. Randy Moss was in a shit situation. He admitted he didn't care about football and didn't try. He left and had one hell of a career afterwards. If you go to the worst team in hockey, like notoriously over the last 10 years, one of the worst teams,
Yeah.
it'd be hard to be motivated to go play hockey too, man. And now you're going to a team who's a contender every year. You might try a little harder. There's other superstars there. It's not all on you to do it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, this is not a shot at Taylor Hall, but or anybody. It was just saying, like, do you think it's a similar maybe situation where he knows he's in a better situation? If he doesn't make it here, where's he going to make it?
Well, and he
Well,
comes in, he doesn't have to provide any leadership to the team, right? He just comes in, he plays his role, and I mean, it seems like it's ignited some of the other guys on the team. But what were you saying, Kevin?
I'll say one thing that I think is funny though, and it's so Buffalo-esque, is they've already paid him for more goals or more goals for somebody else than they had for them. So
Yeah,
it's crazy.
just a beauty.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm happy that it's working out for him. I hate Boston, so I hope. I mean, I don't want Boston to catch fire, but I mean, over the last 10 days, like whatever it is, like 8-10 days, they've been one of the hottest teams, if not the hottest team.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I just saw something come across my screen. So our guest that we were supposed to have on, he obviously had some kind of malfunction. So Liam can check it out offline, but I'm not sure we're gonna have him on. But
It won't be tonight. That's what he said.
yeah, no, it's all good. Like
It's all the Rogers thing. Go Canada.
Yeah, Rogers cucked us, so we'll have to have our special guest on another time. But that's okay. At least he's seen the message now. While I'm thinking about it, obviously, every time we have a conversation about anything, we always lead back to football. So I had football in my mind today, and I was thinking about the draft because we're really only 10, 11 days away from the draft now. Who do you guys think is the best defensive player overall in this draft?
All right.
Well,
I'm going
first.
I'll go first. I'm going to put out a little mojo because I actually want this player on my team. I know we just signed an edge rusher here, but I wouldn't mind having another backup in case Harold Landry doesn't pan out here in the last couple of years of his career or his contract. So Quiddy Pay from Michigan. He's big. He's got long arms. He's quick. He's got a bunch of moves off the edge. And he's a good talent, and he could go either, hands on the ground, or he can be a stand-up linebacker. And in our system, we kind of run a versatile front. So I'd love to have him on my team if that's an opportunity.
Okay, yeah, and you said he's from Michigan. So
he plays from. I was just going to leave that out because I knew if I said Michigan, I might get cut off by somebody with like they suck or fuck Michigan or something.
I let you finish
I just was
first.
Holding off.
Yeah, no, yeah. Chad was respectful. He let you finish first.
Such a gentleman.
Yeah. Well, whatever. I'll go next, and I'm actually picking this almost to be the opposite of what Kalen's saying, because I want as many defensive players to get drafted in the high end, so that all of these running backs are sitting there when the Steelers come to pick. Because I want either Etienne or Harris. I haven't decided yet. I'm going to talk to Aiden about it and see what he thinks. But
Jesus, poor kid.
I'm all about Patrick Surtain. The guy, he has the pedigree. He's coming from a winning program. Just think of some of the DBs that come out of Alabama and the guys they may not produce the highest stats, and Sertan is definitely no exception to that. I mean, he doesn't have eye-popping stats, but he's got 4.4 speed.
They're football
And-
players. That's what it comes
Yeah.
down to.
And I mean, we're looking at a guy that has a tremendous pedigree with coming from what his dad is, and think of like what that meant for Anton Winfield this past year. Obviously, that guy has been getting high-level coaching his entire life, but give me Alabama, give me defensive players from Alabama, and automatically, I think that Sertan's probably going to be a top 10 pick, and 5-10 years from now, like this guy's going to be getting paid. And I'm not going to, like what Chad said earlier, I'm not going to start calling shots for the Hall of Fame, but this guy is special.
So I'm with you. I do think Sertan's the best DB in the draft. So I'm not going to take your pick for you. My pick, I was on the fence about two guys. I've been high on Micaiah Parsons this whole draft just because I think that's one of those things where he can go anywhere and play in any system because of his versatility. But as overall players go, I like the kid from South Carolina, J.C. Horn. I like his size. I like his reach. He's super physical, which can translate to the next level very well. And similar to what you said about the pedigree, he's coming from the SEC, which means he's playing against top-tier receivers every single week. There's no bye weeks in the SEC when you're playing in corner.
Yeah.
You're playing top talent every week. So that's another reason why I'm going with him. And the one thing I love about him is he talks so much shit. Like every time you see him, he's in somebody's ear, whether they make a play on him or not. He's getting inside your head. And so that on top of the fact that he doesn't let guys get off the line is, I think, what makes him a difference maker and why he can go in and start right away. Like him and Sertan are 1A and 1B. And it's kind of, I don't think there's a wrong pick there. But yeah, that's the guy that I like a lot. If it wasn't for Sertan, those are the two guys right there.
Am I thinking of the wrong guy? I thought you were talking about the linebacker from Penn State.
No, I said I liked him a lot.
He said he liked him.
I'm gonna.
Okay.
I've been high on Parsons the whole time. I think he can do anything, but I really like the kid. Just as far as like going in right away and making an impact, I think it's easier for a guy like that opposed to a guy like Parsons, as we saw with Isaiah Simmons last year. It took him a while to figure out where to even use them and how to play those positions. Because when you get moved around all the time, you actually don't have a natural position.
Right.
Now, the one thing that I will say, like
positions at once.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Go ahead.
Those corners, Horn 6'2", 205, right? And there's something just when a corner breaks that 200 cusp there, that somehow, it's either they're going to be a bend or break kind of corner. Like they're either going to make it or they're not going to make it. It seems like everybody that's underneath them is agile enough to kind of be a tweener and kind of get a career out of it. But just when you get over that 200 pounds, now what I think your boy has that you mentioned is the physicality, man. He smashes people off the line. So yeah, I'm going to echo that for sure. I think he's one of those few corners that breaks that 200 threshold and is able to do his entire career with it and be totally fine for sure.
It's just crazy how, like, I guess all these kids have been in high school. They're all receivers when the Legion of Boom was doing these things. Pete Carroll went and got big corners that were former receivers and they could run backwards. And it's like, it showed all these kids that, yeah, if you're 6'2", 6'3", maybe you're undersized outside receiver now at the next level. Cool. We're going to teach you to put hands on somebody. And you already know the route tree. You already know the moves. You know how to read a quarterback. And now those guys are transitioning to really good corners.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and I mean, as you said, they're coming out of a top conference like that. Kind of hard to go against it. One thing that I'll say is not a top conference, and I want to know how you guys feel about this. Thriller Fight Club.
Oh God.
I mean, it happened on Saturday. Didn't really know what it was going in. I'm not sure if it's a concert that, at intermission they fight or whatever, but
that was the worst lip syncing too. Oh my God. All that was pathetic, man. Like it was so bad. Like if the Frank Mir fight, that was so pathetic. That was such a bad showing. And like if it wasn't, I remember asking you guys before we came on here if you guys had got the opportunity to watch the UFC fights that were on that night. Thank God, man, because if I didn't have that to watch on one screen, I made it up until the Jake Paul fight before I fell asleep. If I didn't have that, I wouldn't even made it through the Frank Mir fight. But they were terrible, man. I don't know how they're making money out of these shows. It's got to be only because of the musical artists that are on there that are drawing any type of like money to that. Because who the hell wants to watch that stand-up comedy? Is what I saw there. That was such a fake knockout too. He clapped him. He got him in the chin. But to me, that looked like it was a complete act.
Well, I'm gonna turn it over to Chad for a sec because I'm assuming he watched it, and I need to know where you're at, Chad.
Well, first off, I did watch it, and I'm so glad I didn't fucking pay for that shit.
Yeah.
Like, I will come out and say it right now. Fuck, I am so glad I just streamed that thing. That was fucking a sideshow. Everything about it, the fucking bullshit fake ass concert, which literally was more than the fights. That was a 4 hour of my life I will never get back.
Yeah.
And like people can say that, like, well, they paid $70 for that. Like they still made their money. I'm so glad.
Is that how much it was?
It was $70.
Oh my god, man. That's highway robbery. That's terrible.
Someone's got to pay for Justin Bieber to be there.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Their only hope is that there's some like dumbass high school kids that just want something to talk about at lunch hour, I guess now in their little chat groups.
Yeah.
Like that's it. Like you'll never get a fight fan again for that.
Well, that's the thing, right? Like it's not really targeted at fight fans. It's targeted at like the Jake Paul type audience of, you know, who watches YouTube all day and like, oh, now he's fighting, so let's go check it out. Like it's really designed to bring in like its own fan base. I think. I mean, I could be wrong. I never really even heard of it until like the couple of days leading into it. So
And then
now, does he have another fight lined up?
I don't know.
Does he have another one lined up right after this?
Not yet,
No?
but they're already talking about everybody's challenging him. And
Are they? Oh, okay.
because everybody wants to knock his fucking teeth in because he just runs his mouth. Like you beat up a fucking 50-year-old 5'4" midget. Like that was then your first fight was against another YouTube guy who's I don't know who the fuck that is. And then you fought Ben Askren and everyone's like, oh, you beat a wrestler. Well, no, the guy still had 20 MMA fights, so I'll give you that. But there's not a chance in hell you knocked him out. That was a fucking joke. And my exact words to Shane before we came on was, that guy is an Olympic wrestler. I don't know if he medaled in the Olympics. I don't want to sit here and say he did. But if he did, I hope they fucking strip his medals from him. Because that was a fucking dive and he should be embarrassed of himself. Like, we made fun of Josh Norman when he got fucking launched by Derrick Henry saying, like, how do you go home and, like, look at your wife in the eyes? Ben asked him, like, how do you go look at your wife? Like, you run wrestling camps all across America for all these kids, and you just took a fucking dive. There's no
So who
way.
took the bigger dive? Him when he took that dive, or Paul after faking the crying on the ground after? Oh my! For like 45 seconds, that was terrible. That was such bad acting too.
Well, the end of it just seemed like a spoiled rich kid, like his parents throwing him a party, eh?
Yeah. It's a great way of describing it, man.
MTV Sweet 16 right there, man. Like that's literally what that was.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah,
I'll be honest, like I had Jake Paul with the knockout, so I mean I was happy I won, but I mean the whole thing was a fart. Like the only thing that I found entertaining, and like I'm not sure that I could watch an entire event of it, but the slap fight was unreal.
Yeah.
Oh my god, yeah, that's crazy stuff, man. I don't know how any of those guys take that. I've seen some of those guys on YouTube, and they all get tatted up faces, have the black contacts, and it's all baby powdered out, and they're always huge guys too, like just massive.
Dude, your jaw has
guys.
to be this big.
Whack.
If your jaw's not
it's
this big, you're not getting
massive.
slapped by somebody like that.
Yeah.
There was
a million pay-per-views.
Jeez.
They made 70 million on that fucking thing.
That's
At
wild,
least.
man. They haven't. Oh, they just haven't got the chargebacks on the credit cards yet. That's all.
No, man, it's the like all the advertising and everything that went into that. Like, did you see all the liquor and stuff that they had flowing around there? Like, it was rough. I I was a little bit embarrassed
Who-
for AC Slater to be there, but I mean, whatever.
Also,
he
how
was
what
there.
was the
much
name of that
fucking
movie with like
blow
the
Oscar De La Hoya was on? That's what I want to know.
Yo, whoever. Yeah, he was rough.
Dude,
oh
there-
my god.
I want to know if there's more Botox in his face or they want to blow he did before the concert. Not the, well, I guess we'll call it a concert. I don't know what the hell it was. But, like,
Yeah.
he started trashing fighters as they were fighting.
Yeah.
Yeah. And apparently he's coming out of retirement and he's fighting in July. So like
On the next, on like this card.
yeah, like this thriller. Yeah, this thriller fight club thing. Like they got Evander
You know what, guys?
Holyfield.
I feel like I want to fight again. What's the next card? Yeah, I'm there for
Yeah.
that. Is that what happened?
I mean,
Literally, is what happened.
when it comes down to it, like they had Mike Tyson last time. I mean, they had.
He's fighting again, though, isn't he?
He already fought.
Is
Now
he
it's
fighting
Evan-
again, though?
I don't know. Evander Holyfield's supposed to fight in June on this thing too. So like,
Yeah,
who
it's
knows
not
what's gonna
Tyson,
happen, man?
God.
Yeah.
You know who I'd like to see in there is George the Rock. Remember that guy from NHL? He played for the Canadians. Oh,
Yeah.
I'd like to see that guy in a boxing match. He fucking clocks
Yeah.
somebody.
Well, how about that? We'll each pick one person that we think should fight Jake Paul. I have one in mind, and I'm like, the only
All right,
reason
yeah.
the only reason I'm thinking about it is because I was watching a preview for the movie Friday. I'm
You
thinking-
talk Debo?
I'm talking about James Harrison getting in there with James Harrison versus Jake Paul. Tell me,
They're
like,
talking
tell me
Big
you're not
Debo.
paying for that one. Tell me you're not paying for that one.
Yeah. That commercial when he tackles like the one guy, like he gets what was the I can't remember what commercial, but it's like you get like quote on insurance or something, or you have to
Yeah.
get tackled by James Harrison, chases around.
Yeah.
Man, that guy's an animal still. Like he's throwing medicine balls around at the beach still.
Yeah, unreal.
Wow.
He made his kid hand in his participation trophy.
Did he?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a
Good
real
man.
story. He said
That's-
we don't
Good man.
accept. He said we don't accept these in our family.
Wow.
Yeah. I
Who's
love
your
it.
pick to fight Jake Paul?
Me? Oh, Aaron Donald
Yeah.
all day.
Aaron Donald. Is that because of what just recently happened?
No, Aaron Donald actually trains MMA all offseason.
Yikes.
Oh, okay.
That's
He
scary.
doesn't-
I'm
work on
gonna
his-
stick with George Larac, man. I think he's a black belt in something. I know he's a black belt. I don't know what it is in, but I'll let him go after that little guy.
Yeah,
Just
no, Aaron Donald. dude,
bop
he
him with the
trains
fucking boxing glove.
He trains boxing to work on his hand speed.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, that's
Could you
that's
imagine that
terrifying.
motherfucker in there with fucking Jake Paul? No.
Yeah, that's terrifying.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Give him a
maybe
real
they'll.
boxer, though. That's the difference, right? Like, give him a real boxer, and see what
Yeah.
happens.
Well, there was that one guy they kept calling the billionaire. I can't remember his name, but he seemed like he knew his way around the ring a little bit. But yeah, I want to see somebody that you can't pay off to be in there. So like
Yeah,
maybe if
somebody
this guy's a
has that
legit
money.
billionaire. Yeah, like if this guy's a legit billionaire, like you're not going to pay him off. So
Mhm.
I want to see that, but I would love to see James Harrison just smash him.
Sam Stout just posted this thing today, and like it took us for a guy that fought 20 times in the UFC. He took a massive shot at the UFC.
Oh yeah.
He full out came out today on his Instagram story and said, "Jake Paul made more money in one fight than I made in 20 UFC fights with 7 bonuses."
Oof.
Wow.
No, I mean, that being said, different times, I guess, right? Now the money is flowing through that industry. I mean, back when he was there in the late stages, it was kind of starting to ramp up, but yeah, I don't know. It's kind of different
But
times,
no,
I guess.
unless
It's like
you're a
looking at like the
headliner, like,
70s
you're
football
not-
player versus now, you know?
But the thing is, he was never a headliner, right? So if you're not a headliner, you're
Yeah.
not getting that money. But 20
Yeah.
fights, you didn't make $600,000.
That's
And this
crazy.
fucking
Put your
loser.
body on the line for a lot.
This fucking loser just made it for one fight for literally 35 seconds of a fixed
Hmm.
fight.
Yeah. That's wild.
Like we're talking way too much about these fucking losers.
Yeah, well, let's move on because there was actually some news. We talked a lot about this guy in the offseason. We talked a lot about him throughout the season, and Alex Smith finally decided to call it a career today. So,
Mhm.
I mean, I don't think that this was. I mean, people saw it coming. It wasn't like anyone was rushing out to sign him. I know,
Mhm.
and I think it was me that mentioned it. I was wondering
there-
if maybe he would be a Fitzpatrick kind of guy and bounce around, but
Well, from what I read today, he had like 5 or 6 teams looking at him. Jacksonville actually, like Urban Meyer is saying even right now, we're still going to be following Alex Smith. And Alex Smith had actually took an interview with Jacksonville. 2 things stand out to me in this one is it either he took that interview with Jacksonville and got straight up told like this is going to be Trevor's team from the get-go. So why go ride the pine? Like if you're already going to ride the pine, you might as well just call it a career. You had a great end to the last year of your career kind of thing to go off into the sunset. But then like too with like Urban Meyer saying we're still going to follow in on Alex Smith. It's like maybe Trevor Lawrence isn't going to start from the hop. Maybe they are going to try and fill that spot and let Trevor ride the pine for a little bit. So I don't know.
Not a chance.
Yeah.
No, I don't think so either. I think that's just Urban Meyer just being, giving a humble to Alex Smith and his career and everything. A little hat tip.
I just
Yeah.
don't think he wants to go somewhere if he's not going to play.
Right.
Everything he's
Yeah.
been through the last 2.5 years of his life to get back to where he was. He didn't play at a high level last year, but he pretty much got watched in the playoffs and taught those guys that they could win and showed them they could win. But unfortunately, his skill set just isn't there anymore.
Right.
Like, I don't think that leg's okay. And that's what it comes down to. And he relied on his legs. I don't think he can move now. And at the end of the day, like he had an infection in it last year when his leg got cut up.
Yeah.
It's not like at what point is it worth it? Like you've already proved all you had to prove.
He's got lots of money.
You're not going to go to a team you're the missing link to be a Super Bowl contender.
Right.
So, like, are you going to go to one of these little washed up or bottom tier teams? Then you look like you're washed up when you're all done because you had 2 bad years there.
Yeah.
Like you won comeback player of the year. You're the world's happiest story. You had a good career. Like you're definitely a far thing from a bust. So you know what? Hang it up. Like say it is what it is. Like you're not a Hall of Fame player, but you had a good career.
Walk out on your own terms.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I'm okay with it too. And I think like there's definitely going to be teams that are calling him because they would love for his mind to be in their quarterback room. But I mean, you don't play for all these years and travel around and leave your family to hold the clipboard. I mean, if it was 5 years ago, I'm sure he'd still be interested in playing football and find a way to make his leg work. But I mean, what year was he drafted, Chad? Like he's probably in like
he was in the same class as Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers was 37 last week.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, the guy was probably drafted in like 2005 or 2006. So I mean, he's been in the league 15 years. He knows when it's time to walk away, so he's ready to walk away.
Made his money, got his pension, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you somebody who
And
doesn't
he's
know
lost
how
his
to
job
walk.
twice. Sorry.
Yeah,
To the
no,
cap. He lost to Mahomes, which Mahomes one made sense. But like, even if you go to a team again and you're that 1 year band-aid, like, is that what you just want to be known as? You're just like the placeholder till your first round pick comes in.
well,
And that's where he's going if he goes anywhere.
I mean, if you look at it, he kind of lost his job to Dwayne Haskins too, and we don't need to dissect that all the way through. But I mean, they drafted a first-round quarterback knowing that Alex Smith was there.
Yeah.
So I can tell you about a team that never understands anything, and they will never stop quitting. Is the Cincinnati Bengals and putting out new uniforms? I mean,
Did they actually put on new uniforms or not? I mean, like Jesus.
I don't really understand what it is. Yeah, they
Yeah.
kind of look like they look like jerseys that you would wear at like training camp.
Mhm.
So
Like
you know
they
what
give
the
them out to the
saddest
top
part is
90.
about all this? They didn't even get a current player to be the model.
Oh, Joe Burrow was there, wasn't he?
Yeah, I saw
Chad
Burrow and I saw
Ochocinco
Boyd.
was the one that launched them.
Oh, yeah, they
They
launched
did,
it
like-
all together.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
But
it
if
was
you
like,
have
yeah.
a great receiver,
themselves
T.
a plan.
Higgins, you didn't bring him out and you went with Chad Ochocinco. If I was T. Higgins, I ain't signing that second contract. Fuck you. I'm petty though.
Been 1 year.
Yeah. Well,
It's got a few years to get over that
No,
heartbreak, I guess.
I wouldn't.
yeah.
And
Well,
Shane wouldn't. I can
Yeah.
say
well,
right now, me and Shane wouldn't.
but if they asked me to
These,
model those
uh,
jerseys, it'd be like, for what? Like, you didn't even change anything.
Yeah, exactly. He didn't do much. I mean, how many revamps do we have to see with Nike at this point? Are they actually helping the league? Have they done it? Like when they first got the contract, I thought the first team I thought about was Oregon, and how Oregon had all these crazy jerseys that changed up every single week, even during the week practice jerseys that were changing up. I thought we were going to see some really, really cool stuff. And then what we've been given, this was the second or third remake of the Bengals, the 2 or 3 remakes of the Dolphins. We've had the Jets, who basically ripped off the Rough Riders and tried to make it a jersey in New York. And as much as like I'm gonna love my team, I overall I don't really enjoy the Titans look either, right? So
No
they're
offense, you
not
guys
doing
have ugly
anybody any
uniforms.
favors. Yeah, you had an opportunity. We had very boring uniforms for 15 years. You had a great opportunity to do that revamp. I got all excited about it, and there's aspects about it that I like, but overall, the jersey for me is not there. And like no jersey have they made yet has been like, oh yeah. Like I keep thinking about teams like Arizona who have great colorways, and you put out a shitty product like that, and you expect people to pay $300 American for a jersey like that. Come on, it's
They
pathetic.
just for Tampa, they just went back to 03. That's all they did.
Yeah, straight up. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
for a company that puts out a great cleats, like they have such unique designs and these players that get shown every weekend with their cool stuff on there, their jerseys suck. And I don't know if that's Nike's fault. Maybe it's the NFL, like the Shield is really
no
kind of
fun
pushing them
league,
into a
right?
corner. It really could be because the NCAA, I mean, they got great looking jerseys, right? So we talked about Oregon. So
Yeah, I mean, I'm imagining they just figure out what's gonna film the best or whatever's gonna show up the best on camera. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm trying to think of a jersey that changed recently that I thought like, wow, that's sick. But like,
I guess the
maybe
Rams is
maybe
kind
the
of
Rams.
okay.
I was gonna say, yeah, maybe the
Yeah.
Rams or
I don't like
the
their gray though. That little off-white gray thing, it looks like shit.
Yeah, that's kind of
It
it
looks
looks like
like
a
someone didn't know how to
Lions.
do
Like somebody
laundry.
peed on a Lions jersey.
It looks like someone doesn't know how to do laundry when they wear those uniforms.
yeah, those ones are a little rough, but
Go see your
like,
dry cleaner.
yeah, but I don't know, whatever. I don't even care. Like, I think a team that is that focused on their uniforms in the off season is not ready to play, whether it's April or they drop this thing anytime. Who cares? I don't know. The Bengals are just a non-story. This is their only way to get in the news. Now, we were talking about the Rams there for a second. Did you guys see that the Rams rented a house in Malibu specifically to turn it into their war room for the draft?
Yeah.
That's
I haven't
crazy.
seen
McVay
the
just-
house yet, but I
Oh.
saw the thing come up on my phone today.
Sean McVay, he saw what Kingsbury did last year and said, "There's no way that man's outdoing me this year. I'm
Yeah.
gonna one up him. I'm gonna show him how we do it in LA one more time." Right? That is an incredible setup, and I don't know if they're ever gonna go back to the old way, regardless of what happens here with this 1-9er. I think these guys might just be drafting from home and headquarters like this for a long time,
Why not?
and to make it a show out of it. Like there's a whole bunch of sponsorships in it, right?
Yeah, exactly. And why cram them all around a boardroom table when, I mean, if you're at your fantasy draft for us, you're probably sitting in someone's house or whatever, and you're, if you would, Chad, would you rent a house for the fantasy draft? I think that'd be sick.
if you could.
Yeah.
Like a
And-
big old one
Well,
with a pool.
I'm not running our league anymore, so
Yeah. Well,
Somebody-
that was
yeah,
my idea, guys. You screwed me by taking me out of leadership, right?
no,
Yeah.
not a chance.
he quit.
I told the dweebs in my league I'm out.
Yeah. Spitters or quitters, Chad.
That's fine.
Yeah. I mean, do you think that other teams are going to kind of follow suit with this and they're just keeping it low key? Like, you think Bill Belichick's going to be at like his Montauk home or what?
I
wood
hope
cabin with a
that-
scotch and a rye.
I would rather see that than see all these little people's homes. Like, yeah, it was cute to see like your daughter giving you a little like stick figure character saying like "Go Arizona" or whatever team, not Cliff Kingsbury. They got a pig set up, but you know what I mean, right? Like, it was
Yeah.
fun for 1 year. I think it's a cool setup. Like, get these massive houses, do what you got to do. It makes more sense in these boardrooms because some of them are pretty grungy.
Mm.
But I don't know. I just want the draft to go back to being the drafts. Now maybe that's just me being me.
There's supposed to be fans there, so we'll see how it goes this year. I mean, like, not for us. I mean, we're barely even allowed outside of our house. We get our cell phones turned off if we leave the house. So but yeah, for going back to college basketball just for a second. I mean, everybody watched the finals. We talked about Jalen Suggs going in. Did you guys see that he declared for the draft today?
No.
Yeah. So, I mean, is that a big story? Probably not, because the draft isn't on yet, but it's a big story for Gonzaga because by him doing this, it opens up a scholarship for them, and they were actually able to.
They landed the number one
Land-
player in the country. I saw.
Exactly.
Yeah, I did see
exactly.
that. That makes sense.
So
now.
that's huge. And I mean, I got to tell you, when you see a picture of this guy, he does not look like a basketball player.
No, he looks like he should be doing your taxes.
Yeah. Think of like a skinny Big Fudge.
Okay.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, he's probably good if he's the number one player. I mean, what do I know? I'm not a basketball scout.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, a team that we really went after over the last couple of weeks because we really didn't think they were going to play again was the Vancouver Canucks. Played a game.
And they won.
And
They did,
Yeah.
and they won. Yeah.
they better. They have They have their legs underneath them, huh? Jeez.
No, they didn't. That was like the whole thing.
No.
Like, they
Yeah.
said anytime a shift got extended, like, they got outskated everywhere.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Impressive that they were able to do that after. I mean, it felt like a month, but it
They
was
said
probably about
just over
3
three
weeks.
and a half weeks it was.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, good that they're back. We'll see if they can juggle the schedule around. I mean, I know that the Leaf schedule's kind of been moved around a little bit, so we'll see how that goes. We were going to
Right.
talk about it with JD, but we weren't able to get him on.
I read it was going to be 19 games in 32 days.
That's
Yeah.
a
Is
lot.
what
Crazy.
they have to do.
They better
That's
have
like
their
the
legs
old
by
school,
the
like,
seventh
weekend
or 8th game.
tournament when you're 8 years old.
Mhm.
Go play 6 games in 2 days.
Jeez. Maybe they'll take like a page out of baseball's book and make them play twice in the or 2 games in the same day and just do 2 periods instead of 3.
Could you imagine 2 hockey games back to back?
Yeah, well, that'd be wild. I mean, I don't
In the
know how they
same
would
day would be
ever have
nice.
that.
That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah. The
One at
I had
1 and one at like 9.
I have a couple quick baseball things for you guys, and then if you have anything else. But Chad actually brought this one up. Did you see the shirt that the Cubs relievers were wearing that just said "failed
No.
starters"?
I was dying laughing when I read that.
That's
Embrace
classic.
your role, eh? Embrace
Yeah.
your role.
I love it. I
you
think
gotta,
that's
you gotta have
genius.
fun with that, man. Like, it's so funny.
I don't know if
I-
there's a team sport where the players have more fun with things like antics like that, or the jokes in the dugout, like, the blowing gum bubbles on the hats or whatever it may be. I think that baseball, for as boring as people may say it is, they have a lot of friggin' fun in the dugouts, huh?
It's because they have that much free
Yeah.
time during a game.
Yeah, right.
What?
Got to figure something out, right?
But like,
It's
it's
just-
cool to see millionaires having fun and like not being assholes and still being kids at
Yeah.
heart. That's what it comes down to.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what
God,
it
I
is,
wish I
right?
could still just be a kid at 34, man.
That's what it is, man. Like, they call baseball the kids game. You never know how long you can play it.
That's
That's from Moneyball. And of course, we gave somebody the going for 2 curse, which was Acuna Jr. Guy's on fire.
Ah,
Now he's got a hurt abdominal. Who knows how long he's going to be out? Sorry.
Because he's swaying out of his soul, maybe. I don't
so
know.
basically, tweet us or add us or something about who you want us to talk about, and they'll start being really play poorly, or they'll just get taken out of the game. That's
AJ
how it's
Brown.
going to go down, I guess, right?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not
AJ
us.
Brown.
They got to tweet us. Stop talking about us. Talk about him.
Yeah. Well, put the comments in the YouTube. I mean, while
right.
you're there, you might as well go ahead and
We
subscribe
talk
to that.
about next week. Bye, folks.
Yeah, you might as well just subscribe to that thing because what else are you gonna do? But if
And if you like the
guys-
video, like the video, right?
well, naturally. But yeah, I mean, also while you're liking the video, make sure that you order takeout from Joe Cools because things are shut down right now and we need that. So if you guys got nothing else, we'll just say cheers and we'll sign off. And watch out this
good,
week
man.
for our golf tournament announcement.
Oh,
Cheers.
buddy.
Cheers, boys.
Cheers.